Bon appetit, fellow travelers. Mark here with Wolters World, and today we're in Paris enjoying the fantastic food and culture of France. If you look back over there over the horizon, you've got Notre Dame, you've got Musée d'Orsay over there to kind of fill your palate of culture and history. But let's be honest, the reason why you come to France is the food, because French food is fantastic. That's what we come for, because yes, you see these people running by here, they're running so that they can go eat more fantastic food here. And so what we want to give you today are some of the dishes you should try when you do come to France. There are a lot of different dishes out there, and each region does have its own specialties. Normandy, you're going to have a lot of seafood and cider, not wine when you're there. In Loire, you're going to have wine and goat cheese, and there's a lot of hunted game there, like boar and duck and stuff like that. Provence has its own thing. Strasbourg, you have a lot more, Germanic influence in the food there, the creams and stuff. And you have all this great food here in France. And so what I want to give you is some of the kind of like overall things you should have in France when you are here. I do have a few videos on like food in Normandy and food in Loire to give you an idea for those, but let's get into the things you really should eat here when you are in France. So let's start with the basics. You want to go to boulangerie or patisserie, you want to have the breads here. Yes, a baguette and cheese or a baguette and butter is a meal. Believe me, the bread here, the baguettes are fantastic. The cheese, whether it's a goat cheese or a blue or Roquefort or whatever, there's fantastic cheeses throughout the country. And having a picnic with baguette and cheese and some wine isn't just something that the tourists do, that you should do. It's something that locals do as well. So start with that. And when you're in the bakeries, okay, you know the baguettes, obviously you want to have your croissant for breakfast, right? Well, the croissant here are fantastic. Or you might want to have what we call pain au chocolat, which is basically like a croissant with two lines of chocolate in it. Or you can have a cravate, a tie, which is another pastry that's on there that my kids really like. It's got some cream and some chocolate in the puff pastry. The tarts that are here as well. If you want to have a nice tart, find ones that have fruit flavors, especially if it's the flavor of a fruit that's in season. So right now we're here in the spring, and so strawberries are coming out, and so you have that, and raspberries. Oh, the raspberries and the tart are so good. You have lemon tarts, all kinds of stuff. You want to have those. Oh my God, I'm just getting hungry just talking about all this food. And the thing is, with these pastry kind of things, you might see these little, kind of look like little cookie sandwiches. They're called macarons. And macarons, what's cool about them is it's like a cookie, and then there's like a cream in the middle and another cookie in the bottom, and they come in all kinds of flavors. If it's pistachio, strawberry, or raspberry, or we had one that was rosé, it was rose flavored. You will have those. You can get little ones. They sell the big ones. Go for the little ones. They're the more traditional kind of ones. Have those. Get a pack of 6 and try different ones. You got people with you, get more. Everyone will enjoy those. That's a must little sweet to have when you are going around. Another thing you want to look at in terms of the tarts and the torts and the cakes and stuff like that is when you are in the different regions, they will have their own specialty cakes, like the tarte tatin, the apple cake, and in some places where apples are big, other places they'll have cakes or breads that are special to their region. So make sure you ask at your hotel, hey, what's the local thing I should have? What's the local breads I should have? Because they really will change by region. But the baguettes and the croissants always good. They're everywhere, okay? So you'll be okay with that. Now, if you're going to be coming to France, you're going to want to know, when should I be eating? Look, breakfast, you will have a croissant and coffee, or the French will have a croissant, coffee, and a cigarette. But when you're going to eat, just know that the restaurants, they're serving lunch, noon to 2 or 3. And then some of the restaurants, their kitchens actually close from 3 to 7. You might be able to get like a small treat, but when you go sit down and have a meal, might not be able to have dinner till 7. So if you're looking for some kind of snacks to have during the day, if you've got small kids or you're getting hungry, some of the good snacks they have, one, you can have a quiche Lorraine, which is a cheese and ham and cheese quiche. That's my personal favorite. I love that one. I'll get them, make those up chaud, hot, just eat it on the street. It's a fantastic thing to have. Another one is you have the croque, which is kind of like it's ham and cheese. It's like a toasted ham and cheese sandwich, but it's made with like puff pastry. That's another easy one you can have. But probably the most popular thing for the tourists to have when they're looking for a fast eat here in France is a crepe or a galette. A crepe is a very thin pancake, and they'll put sweet stuff in it. Maybe it's Nutella or chocolate, or they'll put some apple or some fruit flavor in it. That's always a good one. The galette, that's what has more savory flavors. Ham and cheese, ham, cheese, and egg is a very popular one out there as well. So that's kind of like our go-to look, we need a quick eat, or it's middle of the day, afternoon, we can't get a dinner or a lunch. That's our big thing that we'll have when we're there. Now, when you're looking at what you're going to have at a restaurant, know that France has a lot of different nationalities that have come here. So there's a lot of different options for food. So you don't just have to eat French food. You can have all kinds of great other kinds of food, whether you want Algerian or hey, you want German or you want Spanish. They have those. But let's stick with the French stuff. When you go to a restaurant for lunch or dinner, a lot of times what you're going to see is they'll have a menu. And it'll give you it'll say one price, like 27 euros or 32 euros or 18 euros for the menu, okay? And sometimes there's the plat du jour, the plate of the day, or there's a menu du jour, the menu of the day. And the menu will usually give you a starter, a main dish, and a dessert. And sometimes they'll give you an option for some cheese, okay? Now, the starters, some of the starters you might see, the French onion soup, or just onion soup, they call it here. That is a must when you are here. It's always good when you're here. You might also have foie gras might be an option, which is duck liver or duck liver pate, which some people get really offended by how they make it, but just know it's a French tradition, so if you want to try it, try it. If you don't, it's okay. But that's one thing that might pop up there as well. Also for the starters, if you're like in Normandy and Brittany, they might have oysters will be a good one up there that you might start off with. Or other things you might look at in terms of cheeses. Like sometimes you'll have goat cheese to start off, like warm goat cheese in Loire was normal on the kids menu even. Or you have other things like small things to start off with. You might have scallops or something like that. And then you go to the main meal. Now some of the main meals you should have here, those big dishes, confit de canard, okay? Duck. Duck is amazing here in France. You definitely want to have that when you're here. It usually comes with a little, like a brown gravy on top of it sometimes, but it is amazing to have duck when you're here. If you want pork, there's a lot of pork dishes around. A lot of them will come with a sauce, whether a wine sauce or a cream sauce, depending where you are. Don't be surprised to see lots of different wine sauces out there. If you were looking for steak and frit, you can have steak and fries. It's a normal meal here. You don't have to feel like, oh, I'm being a tourist having a steak and fries. It's totally okay. The French have it all the time. Entrecôte and fries, steak and fries. You're going to be okay with that. A beef dish that you might have in the winter, a beef stew, is beef bourguignon, which is like chunks of beef cooked in a burgundy wine sauce, hence the name. And they'll cook that. It becomes really, really soft. You might have it with rice or other vegetables when you are there. And when you have your like meal part, usually will come with some kind of side, like a potato kind of thing, or a vegetable on there. And the vegetables can be just as good as anything else. And when you are looking at the vegetables and fruits and stuff like that, make sure you get whatever's in season. And most of the time, the restaurants, their things will already be seasonal recipes, okay? Now, some other things, you might look at coq au vin, so like chicken, or poulet is chicken, but you might see chicken cooked in wine sauce. And sometimes you don't want something so big for that main meal. You say, you know what, I just want a normal, something small. You can have the quiche again. Another really popular, smaller meal that people have are omelets. Look, I know in the U.S. used to omelets are only for breakfast. Here you can have omelets for lunch. It's okay. And you can have that. And that's another dish that restaurants will maybe serve, not just in breakfast, but like not just the meal times, but sometimes in the middle times. So that's a nice little safe one to go for. Now, my three favorite kind of starters, though, are escargot, which is snails, and actually my 9-year-old loves those and comes and gets those. Frog legs, which, it's harder and harder to find frog legs. You kind of got to search those out. And then the third one are mussels, okay? Those are my three kind of favorite starters you can choose from when you do come here. Are they on every menu? No, they're not on every menu, but if it's an option, you won't go wrong with those. And then when you get to third plate, the dessert. Now the desserts usually it's usually something like this. You have like a chocolate mousse or something like that, which is always good in my opinion. You'll have some kind of fruit cake. Not like a fruit cake like you get at Christmas, but like a tart that's made with fruit in it. It's not super sweet, but it's still really good. And there'll usually be some other, de maison. When it says de maison, it's like of the house. That's usually what I get is the specialty of the house. And I'll be honest, if your French isn't that good or you're not sure what to order, ask the waiters and waitresses what to get. Because, here in Paris, the servers aren't that nice. But outside of Paris, the servers really are nice. They really are friendly. And they'll give you advice. I think you should get this and this. And this is what our chef does really well. And we've done that. And I've pretty much 99.9% of the time have been extremely happy with the food I got. So usually I'm okay with that. Another thing you want to look at is with the food is the cheese. Now you might have cheese with your breakfast, or you might have cheese at your dessert, or between your sweet dessert and your main course. And the cheese around France is, I mean, there's 7 different types of cheeses, that are out there. Now France has tons and tons of cheeses, but there's 7 main groupings, and you can get all those different groupings here in France. Some of the more popular ones, the chèvre, the goat cheese. Oh man, I cannot stop eating the chèvre, the goat cheese from Loire. It is so good. Or maybe you like camembert. That's from Normandy. You go down to the south, they have their own kind of cheeses. And what's cool is a lot of the places will give you an option. They'll say, oh, yeah, on your menu you can get it with the cheese or without the cheese, and they'll bring the cheese trolley over to you, and you can pick out different cheeses you want to try. And I really recommend you doing that. Even if you're not a big cheese fan, you're like, I only eat cheddar and American, try some of the stuff here just to kind of open your palate. And when you have that cheese, you want to be drinking in some wine with that, because some of the wines really pair really well with the cheese. So you might ask, this is the wine I'm getting, so what cheeses should I get to kind of go along with it? And again, your waiter or waitress should be able to help you with that to go really far. Now, in terms of drinking here, obviously the wine is something you have to have. And there's, whether it's red, rosé in the summer, or white or whatever, you will have great wines. Just get the local wines that are there. If you go to places like Normandy, wine isn't the big thing in Normandy. Normandy, it's cider is what you're going to have when you drink there. If you go to Strasbourg, you're going to have a picon. Picon is a liquor, and what they do is they put a shot of this like sweet liquor into a beer to make it a picon beer. And that's one thing I love about Strasbourg, is having that as picon. And you'll see is in each different region, they'll have their own little drink specialties, they'll have their little food specialties, and that's what makes France great. And that's what makes this video so hard, because I'm giving you kind of the general French food that you'll see at French restaurants in the US with all the puff pastries and stuff like that. But there's so much more to eat here in France. So wherever you're going, if it's Provence and Avignon, or you're going to Normandy, or you're going to Lille or wherever, make sure you eat what's local and you will enjoy it. I guarantee it. The food here is amazing. And I honestly, it's my favorite food anywhere in the world is to eat. Coming here to eat in France, I love it. So if you want to learn more about visiting France, 10 things that'll shock you about visiting France, 5 things you love and hate about visiting France, what to eat in Loire or Normandy, or anything like that, check us out on our website at woltersworld.com. We're also on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and I'm so hungry and drooling from this discussion about all the fantastic food here in France. I'm actually going to go to lunch now with the family, and I'm going to eat my food and my kids' food and my wife's food just to try all the different stuff out there. So au revoir and bon appetit. Oh, and don't forget, you do not have to tip your waiters here in France, because the service charge is already included in the bill, and so are the taxes. So that's why sometimes the price seems high. It's because about 25% is taxes and service is already included, and that's why it's already there. So the price you see is the price you pay, and if you pay with a credit card, they don't even give you a place to write the tip anyway. So I hope that helped. Have a great time eating in France, and I guess you could enjoy some culture like the Musée d'Orsay, or go to Notre Dame over there. Whatever. Just go and enjoy yourself. Have a crepe. Have some fun. Have some confit de canard, and just love it here. So, bon appetit and au revoir de Paris.